Hi teachers, and welcome to week 3 of our technique mini-series. This week we're talking about all things knees. So if you ever found yourself saying to your dancers, straighten your legs, straighten the back of your knees, lengthen out the back of your legs, today's session is for you. Now today we're going to talk about finding ways to get the dancers to understand the energy of their knees better so that they really are straightening and working towards straightening, and also finding tangible ways for them to measure how straight their legs are. So as we begin, let's first talk about what a lot of dancers think when we mention straightening the knees. A lot of dancers, when we are talking from a plie into a straightened position, they're thinking that plie means to go forward, so straighten means to go back. A lot of times this presses our dancers into a really forced hyperextension where there's a lot of pressure on that joint of the knee. And also we're finding ourselves in unsafe positions as they force and push that knee backward. Instead, I always like to tell the dancers to think about the energy of the knee either lengthening down or lengthening up, depending on where the foot is planted. And so, if our dancers are in a plie position and their feet are planted on the floor, I like to tell them to take that black knee panel in the back of the leg, draw it up through the blue panel, and try to connect it into the purple panel of the glutes. This allows the energy of the leg and the knee to lift up to straighten, and finding that length and elongation in the leg as opposed to pushing back and then bending in the opposite direction. Likewise, if the leg is hovering, so the leg is not planted but it's lifted, I like to tell the dancers to think about that black knee panel. Now it's not going to lengthen up into the body, but now it's going to lengthen out because we want that extension to feel long for them. So now thinking about that black knee panel going through the green panel and out of the foot. So instead of being here and trying to push up towards the ceiling to straighten, now they're thinking the black knee panel reaching out and straightening that way. So now we're finding that length and extension through and out, which gives them the elongation and takes pressure off the joints. So as we're trying to get them to straighten anything, our goal is get the pressure away from the joints, stack the joints, make them safe, and then try to extend as much pressure away from the joints as possible. So planted, lifting the pressure off the knee joint by drawing it up. If it's extended, lifting the pressure out of the knee joint by reaching it away. And that'll help you see the straightening, but also that extension, that beautiful line developing, right? So 3 exercises to help our dancers develop this placement. The first exercise, we're going to bring them to the bar. So grab, if you have little blocks, grab those. Otherwise, you can even have just like a book or something. Just allow the heels to lower beneath the ball of the foot. So it doesn't have to be fancy, but it does need to be sturdy. Right, so planting the hands on the bar, the balls of the feet on that block. From here, we're going to have them think about, since the heel will be hovering, we're going to think about the energy going out of the heel, but also lifting up through the blue panel. So the back of the knee is going to go like this with energy, right? We're going to have our dancers relax. The heels are going to soften down, so there's a lot of extension and release through the green panel down into the heel. And then we're also going to draw the blue panel of the hamstring up. So now we're going to try to relax the body a little bit more into this position, relaxing the heel down, reaching the hips and glutes, the purple panel up. From here, we're going to actively engage the green panel through the black knee panel, through the blue panel, connecting into the purple to press into releve, actively engaging everything to press up. Then we're going to start to relax again, soften, and try to release down into the heels, engage and lift up, right? Soften down, engage up. Then we're going to activate everything again, drawing the green panel through the black panel, through the blue panel, connecting into the purple blue panel as we press into releve. So now we're not thinking down to the floor, we're thinking up, actively engage and connect, and then release back down. Start with 4 to 8 of those, build into 16. When your dancers are getting really strong on 2 legs, think about doing 8 with 2 legs and then 4 single standing, so just 1 leg lifted and going into that same process with just a single leg, and then switching off and developing that into 8 each side. The more strength you can develop in these placements, the more the dancers can apply it later, which is super duper helpful. The second thing we want to try is going to be planted on the ground. And so we're going to have our dancers on their stomachs, thinking prone to the floor. They're going to have their feet in first position, but stretching their feet so that just the tips of their big toes are grazing the wall. They're going to plant their forehead on their stacked hands, and they're going to go into a tendu so they can still reach the wall. Thinking about your hip points connecting to the floor, so we're not going to lift up with those hip points. They stay connected. Then we're going to lift up into a dégagé. Now at this point, your foot is going to detach from the wall because as you go into dégagé, there's a little more space there. But we want our progress to be really measurable for our dancers. So once they get to that point where they can no longer reach the wall, and it doesn't have to be a big leg, just a dégagé, then we're going to reach that energy back to the wall to show the dancers, okay, you can find more length in the back of that knee without compromising your upper body. So when they're in that dégagé position, we're going to have them reach, extend, and then trace the wall back down. 4 times, and then we can build up to 8. The last exercise that we're going to work on with our dancers begins with laying supine on the floor with our heels directly above our hips. Now, I want to show this first to show how we want to reach the energy away, but actually this is going to be a exercise at the bar. We're going to build into that. So we're going to have our dancers laying on their backs on the floor. Their legs are going to be in a first position, flexing the feet. Now, really rotate the green panels toward you so that we can see green panels of the calves and the inner thighs trying to rotate and present. From here, instead of everything sinking into the hips, we want to think about everything reaching away from the hip joint. So when your dancer goes into plie, we want them to think about keeping the heels as much at that height as they possibly can, and then rotating from there. So it's tiny. There's nothing sinking into the hips, and then they'll stretch. This is a great exercise to do with a partner. So the partner can plant their hands on their friend's heels, and then as they plie, if they drop into the plie, you know that their joints are taking a lot of that weight. And again, with the back of the knees and keeping the knees stretched, keep that energy of the knee even pushing out of that heel as it goes into the bend. So it's not like a sinking bend, but it's a really extended pressed, energetic plie. We're going to do the same thing going to the bar. So now we'll take our dancers to the bar. We're going to go back to this block. Now the block is planted behind our dancer, and they're going to go in the same first position. They'll just have one leg in line with the block. So for me, it's my left leg is in line with that block. I'm going to tendu back. The good news about this is if you put the block right behind your dancer, you can also kind of monitor that that tendu is in a direct line behind them, that they're not working the tendu off to the side. So we can measure that angle as well. For arabesque, we'll tendu back. Now from here, keep both hip points planted forward so we won't open up to get more length. We'll keep everything in alignment. And we're going to try to reach the back of the knee to push the block. So see, it's just a tiny amount, reaching the back of the knee. Now, we'll take this into a fondu. So we're pressing the block a little more. Now from that fondu, drawing those hip points up, we're going to plie the back of the leg and try to keep the foot connected to the block. So when we plie, the dancer's not going to sink in. They're going to plie and try to keep that extension in the hip joint. And now they're going to press farther for the extension and length in the knee to try to straighten out as opposed to straightening back. A little bitty bend, and then keeping that extension, try to press it even farther. Now, this is another great exercise to have partners with. So if you had a partner with your dancer, they can line up behind with the block, not put any weight on the block, just kind of monitor as the dancer presses the block back, just making sure it doesn't angle or go out of the way, that it stays in a consistent line behind them. And so the dancer's partner can also help kind of like guide and make sure that they're on the right track with the checks and balances, because everything we do, right, we want it to be measurable for that dancer. We want them to see right away, aha, my leg is longer. Aha, I totally understand that. Yes, I felt that in every single exercise in every single class, because the more our dancers are connecting into their progress, the more excited they are and the more they're ready to continue on with that correction later. Whereas if the correction, they don't see the progress, if the correction is painful, if the correction goes months and months and months and they're hearing it over and think they've already corrected it, why are they still hearing it? Those things are going to keep the dancer in this like kind of sinking process. But every time they get that aha, measurable, tangible moment, that's when your dancer is like ignited to grow, right? So the more we can have them measure what they're doing, even if it's the tiniest, they just moved it a little bit. Their partner's excited for them. It's a big deal, right? Even that 1 inch is enough for your dancer to be on fire and ready to straighten their knees more in the next class. So take these exercises, have fun, good luck, keep us posted how they go, and we'll see you in our next class.